Hi, I'm Melissa with Sentimental Salvage and Design, and today we are going to be working on some rustic wooden rabbits, and we're going to give them a chippy paint finish so they look even older. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the bunnies. I just cut these out of salvaged boards. I always save old wood from all kinds of projects or old buildings that we've torn down. I never throw it out because you can always find a use for it. So these are really rustic. I don't know if you can see all of that grain and these chunks that are kind of missing. I don't think I planed these. I may have. I did, because you can see a little bit of that pull on there. So they were even rougher before. But to start with, we're going to use DIY paints, Dark and Decrepit. I like using Dark and Decrepit as a base stain. I'm just grabbing it here so you can see it. So I use this as a base. It's one of the patinas. There's a few patinas in the DIY paint line. This is the brown. It's a perfect brown. So I use this all the time. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll see that I use it a lot. So I've got it in this handy little squirt bottle. And I'm going to give these a base coat of this stain. So just going to squirt a little bit out. And I'm just going to use a little piece of a sponge. I just cut these kitchen sponges in little pieces and it works perfect. And I'm going to have to put it on there pretty juicy because I want it to get down in those little nooks and crannies. So I'm going through a little bit more than I normally would. The good thing about DIY paint products is that there are no VOCs. So it's an all-natural product. So there's no strong odors that you have to worry about. You can do this on your dining room, in your living room. It's not a biggie. It's not gonna kick everybody out of the house because it smells like paint. Even the patina products are like that. Just like the paint. I'm just giving this a good coat. I made these bunnies a little while back, probably a couple years ago. And I just found them up in my storage when I was putting all my Christmas stuff away. So I'm gonna really push that in there. It dries pretty quickly, so you don't have to worry too much about that. I'm gonna do the bottom too, just so it's done. You don't have to worry about these long dry times. It dries pretty quick. I'm just really smushing this. You can apply this with a brush also. It's not a biggie. I just prefer using a sponge when I'm working with any kind of stain. I find it less messy, even though Dark and Decrepit isn't super thin like your regular wood stains, like your Minwax or your Varathane stains. Those are basically like colored water. So I always use a sponge with those because otherwise I make a big mess. And I'm probably going to have to use a brush to get down into this corner. So I'm just going to grab just an old Nothing fancy brush, just to get into that where I can't fit the sponge. And you don't have to worry about it getting on your hands either, because it washes off. If I was using regular traditional wood stains, I would be wearing gloves, because those don't just wash off. Plus, they're pretty stinky. This little guy's taking quite a bit because he is so very rustic. He's got these big chunks. And don't forget, this is a base, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm working pretty quickly. I just want to get this coverage so that I have this nice brown color underneath. Okay, there is one. I'm just going to stand him up out of the way. Nope, I'm going to lean him out of the way. This guy is not as rough, so he's going to be a little bit easier. This is basically just giving it some color. This is the color that's going to peek through your paint. Almost got it. Little bit more to finish him off. Okay, so I'm going to let these dry, and I'm going to wash my hands because this will drive me batty, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So these are dry, pretty dry. They're not overnight dry or anything, but they're dry enough for what we need to do. So I want to do one in like a charcoal color. I know that seems like a weird color for a bunny, but I'm going to do one a charcoal color and one a white. So we're going to do the white one first. Well, we can do this step together if I had all my stuff out, if I was prepared. Okay, so I have a few options here. So basically what you need to do is you need to use a resist. You can use a beeswax block, like one of these beeswax blocks. These work really, really well. You can use, Fusion has the beeswax hemp oil finish. This works really, really well. This is probably what I'm going to use actually. This is DIY's clear wax. I use this. I just recently used this on little houses. It works really, really good. Or then Fusion has, this is actually the pearl that I grabbed by accident, so don't use the metallic. That's not a good idea. That's just a waste of your pretty metallic wax. So any kind of a clear wax, you could even use Vaseline. The reason I don't use Vaseline is because these waxes work, they then seal the piece. Whereas I guess as a decor piece, your Vaseline would work, but I wouldn't use it on furniture if you're looking to get the resist. The wax itself will be our resist. Okay, so we're gonna use this one. This is the beeswax. I always smell them, I don't know why. This is the beeswax, and I'm just going to use my finger. Oh, this one's been closed for a while. It's got a little, and I'm just gonna rub it on the edges, mainly the edges. I'm not super particular. And any spots like this knot, because it's cool, that I would like to highlight. There's kind of a knot there. And I'm just kind of, well, you can see, I'm just kind of slapping it on here. There's no real rhyme or reason. And it's kind of hard to see. You can see it if you pick up your bunny and kind of put them on an angle. You can maybe see the shiny spots, so you can tell where you've been. I don't want too much chippy, but I do want the chippy. And I think on my Facebook page, there is a live that I did corbels, the Doris corbels, and I used this method. And it works really, really well. I've been using this method for quite a while. Maybe one of these days I'll get the hang of milk paint, which is supposed to chip wonderfully and give you that old kind of primitive, really worn look. But I'm not good at having to mix my paint first. I know that sounds silly, but that's my main deterrent from milk paint, is having to mix it. So I haven't given it an honest go. Okay, now this one I'm going to be doing white. And he's really rustic, this guy, so I'm gonna wanna kind of accent a lot of that. So I'm really just kind of putting it on this one. I said, I kind of focus on the edges because that's where things would naturally wear and the paint would chip away. Because I don't like things to look planned. So I don't think I got okay. Just dig out some extra. Okay, so now you don't have to wait for this to dry or anything. You can just go. And let's go with the white one first. So I'm going to use Fusion's Casement. So let's just use this little. And I'm going to use my Klingon brush. And I think I'm going to do the edges first. So you'll probably notice I'm also putting the paint on pretty thick, and normally when working with Fusion, you don't put your paint on really thick because you're looking for that brush stroke free finish. So you go with 2 thin coats. But I need it to peel. That's kind of my goal, is I'm wanting it to peel when I distress, because that just gives you that authentic look. So I'm putting it on pretty thick. It takes a little bit longer to dry, but, and obviously brush strokes aren't a concern with this project. I'm using my little go-to Klingon brush, the S30. I use these little brushes for almost all my projects. You get a favorite brush. It's like your favorite spatula in the kitchen, and these are my favorites. I have 2 on rotation, and they've been in steady paint for a couple years. Okay, so this is the back, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it first. At least I think this is going to be the back. So this is a pre-recorded video, but if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments, or you can always send me an email. I do get to all your questions, unless by some freak of nature I've missed somebody, but I do read all the questions and I do answer them, so. There's something I'm doing and I have not covered it with an explanation, ask away. Okay, so I'm going to actually take out the heat tool so I can dry this enough to be able to paint the other side. Using a heat tool actually helps it start to crack as well. So it kind of helps. This method kind of gives you the chippy paint peeling kind of look that you'll see on really old furniture. I don't know why my glasses don't want to stay up all of a sudden. This heat tool isn't as hot as my old-fashioned, my big yellow heat tool that I use, my industrial one. So it's a little bit slower, but it's quieter, so it works good for video. Okay. Now we're just gonna give this other side. And I am putting this on pretty heavy. It's kind of the I'm just going to put that directly on there and save myself. Just going over it. I'm barely putting any pressure as I'm pulling my brush over on the last, just to kind of get rid of some of those brush marks. Okay, so now I'm going to put this guy aside, and I have to put this brush in water. Okay, so now we are going to do the same thing on this guy, but I'm going to use ash. Ash is the really beautiful, deep charcoal, almost black, but it's like a charcoal. It's one of my favorites with the Fusion line. Grab my other brush, and let's go with this one. Same process, different color. Oops. Ash covers really, really well. So a pint of ash goes a really, really long way. So this guy's going to be a little bit more subtle when I distress. It's just going to be little peaks of the brown wood showing through, whereas the white one is going to be a little bit more bold. But I think they'll make a cute pair. Okay, a little bit. I just noticed on the white one that I had some runs. Fusion paint does dry pretty fast, but in this case, we need to heat it up a little bit. Get it to dry a little bit faster. Any thick spots or any runs that you see, you just kind of go with your finger and clean that up. Okay, so now we are going to let these two dry and completely, and I'll be back. So these are both dry, and now I'm just going to show you how easy it is to get this chippy. I've just got a couple old sanding blocks that I've used a bunch, and basically that's it. Just a quick swipe over, and you can see how it just kind of grabs. See how you get that really nice kind of chippy peeled look? It's different than just your standard distressing. It gives a different look having that resist. And it's a little bit more unpredictable because you may have gotten more wax in an area, so you get more of an authentic kind of worn look, I think, anyways. And this also works. I always use a coarser grit versus a really fine grit doing this, because it seems to kind of grab it better and kind of peel it back. Which I like. And then if it gives you too coarse of a finish, you can always go back over it after with a finer grit just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Okay, so here's our white bunny. Get rid of some of that mess. And we'll go with the darker one. I want to grab a new block. Okay, so this one's brand new. And see how that's peeling it back. I really like it on the black or the ash color. Kind of smoothing that out a little bit. Any little rough patches. It really shows up the detail. And it just gives you a cute little rustic bunny. Give this one a go with a newer block. Perfect. So simple as that. Any raw wood, or if it's not raw wood and you have to paint it to get that base color, that contrasting base color, you just paint it with a contrasting color. And then same idea, put your resist in between your two layers of paint, and then it's super easy to get that chippy, peeled back rustic color, or rustic finish rather, not color. Okay, so that's it for this project, and I hope that these little bunnies inspired you to get out there and try this technique on a project of your own. Right, guys? Thanks for watching.